very much. I'll give him the $20 later that I promised him for saying those nice things. How's everybody doing? Yeah, sounds good. How's everybody doing? Good, good. You guys got energy? You guys good?
Yeah.
It's been a long day? Good, good. Who's tried the coffee here? Okay, perfect. Now, before we get started, is it okay if I share a little bit more information with you guys so we're not complete strangers? As Mr. Crawford said, I got started in this industry, 10 years ago. I'm 28 years old now, so I got started in this industry when I was 18 years old. And let me tell you something, it was the best business decision I've ever made. You know, thanks to that decision that I made out of Starbucks 10 years ago, September 2001. Okay, 3 years ago when I was 25, I was able to tell my mother that she didn't have to work anymore. I was able to retire my mother. How many of you guys, thought that was kind of cool? Yeah. To me, that was something big. And I feel that people work harder when they're doing for others than when they're doing for themselves. Can we agree? So to me, one of my big goals was to retire my mother. You know what I mean? She worked very, very hard. You know what I mean? She used to take the bus. She used to work in downtown Los Angeles. You know what I mean? And, it was just a tough life that she had. So that was one of my big goals. So I got introduced to this industry and I said, listen, when I saw this stuff, I said, there's not very many things that I can find where I could be able to retire my mother in a couple of years. Okay? So when I got started, needless to say, I made some mistakes. But I learned from my mistakes, and I paid attention to the right people. And we got started working. We built some pretty big businesses. We've had some pretty decent success. But that's just the surface. Does that make sense? So what we're doing right now is we're doing one last run, okay? And we're looking to identify a couple of key players because we're gonna do something special here. So if you're here for the first time and you're gonna listen to this information, I guarantee that this information is powerful. So listen to this information. If you're already gonna be here, you might as well be here and pay attention to the information. Does that make sense, guys? Yeah. Okay. Now, we're also going to talk about some money. Is that okay? Yeah. Do I have your permission to talk about money? Yes. Okay, good, good. And by the way, when I do one of these presentations, I like it to be kind of like a conversation. Okay, so I'm going to ask some questions from time to time, and then you're going to ask me. Is that fair? Yeah. Awesome. So we're going to talk about some money. Now, the reason why I get people's permission to talk about money is because sometimes I've had some people that kind of get a little defensive when we're talking about money. And I say, listen, there's nothing wrong with money. You know what I mean? I feel, some people say, anybody ever heard the phrase, money's the root of all evil? Yeah. Right? Do you think that's true? No. I think the lack of money is the root of all evil, to be honest with you. When I go to the ATM at 1 in the morning, right? If I'm at the ATM at 1 in the morning, I'm not looking over my shoulder for a rich man. Does that make sense? Yeah. You know what I mean? They say the best things in life are free. Can we agree? Okay, like a sunset in Fiji. What they don't tell you is that a round trip ticket is about $2,000, right? So yeah, the best things in life are free. So one thing that I know is that, and when I learned that lesson for the first time was I met a gentleman who's now a friend of mine who's very successful. And he said, JC, listen, when I grew up, I was told a lot of things that they engraved in my head and my mind. Like, money doesn't grow on trees, right? Like people with money are not good people. He told me that was engraved in my head. But then I realized that that's not at all the case. Does that make sense? And he said, let me share a story with you. He says, I have an uncle who was very, very ill. And my wife, right, my aunt was a nurse. But she couldn't take care of him because she had to go to work. So at the hospital, they wouldn't take care of him very good. So I said, okay. So one day my aunt was crying. So he's telling the story. He says, one day my aunt was crying. And I said, what's wrong? She says, well, they're not taking care of your uncle the way they should at the hospital. I could do a lot better of a job, but I've got my job. A lot better job, but I got to go to work. So he says, how much do you make at your job? She says, about $50,000 a year. He said, I want you to quit your job. I'm going to pay you your salary. I want you to stay at home and take care of my uncle. Do you guys think that was a good thing to do for his family? Now, had he not had the finances to do that, his uncle's still alive, his uncle's doing a lot better, right? But if he didn't have those resources, he wouldn't have been able to help in that way. Does that make sense? Yeah. So I say that because we are going to talk about some money today. And now that I got your permission, Carlos, we're going to get started. Now that I got your permission, we're going to get started. So if you're ready, say I'm ready. Ready. Awesome. Let's get started, guys. Okay. So the name